one thing is for sure, that this protest or whatever's going on outside has put a fire underneath these politicians' butts. They're all charged, supercharged, I'd say. House of Commons is really exciting.
Mr. Speaker,
and it's a
I know my honourable colleague knows that vaccines save lives, but I don't know if the honourable member can point out.
Okay, the Honourable Minister, right from the top, please, so we can hear your full answer.
So I know that my honourable colleague knows that vaccines save lives. I also don't know if my honourable member can point out to a single doctor that can say the pandemic is over. I don't know if my honourable colleague can point to a single scientist that says the pandemic is over. We will do what it takes to protect the health and safety of Canadians. We will respond to the advice. When we ease measures, we will ease measures. When we know, but the one thing I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, an honest leadership tells Canadians that we don't know what the future holds, but we must remain prudent.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Rose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, as the Minister of Public Safety correctly stated, it was the Windsor Police and law enforcement in Alberta that are diffusing the illegal public infrastructure blockades that have traumatized Canadians. In fact, it's not been the federal government. In fact, the Prime Minister has been inflammatory at best and unresponsive at worst as this crisis has mushroomed and traumatized Canadians. How can the Prime Minister justify asking for unprecedented power through the Emergencies Act when he's failed to exercise leadership with the authority that he already has?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Once again, I want to thank the members of the RCMP who aided the situation in Windsor, and as a result now, we have an ambassador bridge that is reopened, which means that Canadians are going to get back to work and our economy is going to continue to roll on. But Mr. Speaker, I'm quite surprised to hear my honourable colleague asking about the inflammation of the situation outside this chamber when it was the interim leader who said, and I quote, "Don't go home. Let's make this a problem for the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker." That is how you inflame the situation, and that's why it's important that the Conservatives call on the illegal blockades to end so that Canadians can get their lives back.
Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
That was embarrassing. Canadians aren't looking for finger pointing. They're looking for leadership right now. This is an unprecedented public crisis, but the federal government has done nothing. They have not responded to the provincial government's requests for resources to end this crisis. And now they are asking to invoke the Emergencies Act, which has never before been invoked in Canada, and several provinces have already said no.
Good.
It seems as though that they want to invoke the Act to get provincial governments to shoot it down as a way of abdicating use of their existing powers, which they have at their disposal. Why are they doing this instead of taking leadership?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Talk about leadership when you see illegal actions occurring outside of this place, when you see border crossings and bridges being blocked, when you see these illegal actions, what is responsible leadership? I'll tell you, it absolutely isn't. Saying that you're proud and you stand with the illegal actions that you're seeing. It absolutely is not equivocating in terms of some of your members saying continue and stay and egg them on, and then say sometimes in the House maybe you're against it, and then tweet something that you're for it. That is not leadership. What leadership is, it's exactly what we're doing every day, with patience and with caution and prudence, making sure we safely end.
Conservative motion calling for a plan and timeline to end all federal mandates and restrictions in Canada. For over 2 years, Canadians have done what is asked of them. They followed the rules. They did what it took to get us to a point where we can finally see the end of this pandemic. Other similar countries around the world have given hope and provided leadership by releasing their plans. Canada is one of the most vaccinated countries in the entire world, and that should be celebrated. And we should be celebrating where the science and data by medical experts is headed. Instead, our country has never been more divided, angry, and pessimistic. The Prime Minister created this mess by his tone and unacceptable language when attacking those who disagree with him. So today, Parliament has a choice: to provide hope and optimism with a clear plan and timeline to end federal mandates, or to plunge us into further chaos and division in a time where the opposite is needed. The country is watching. Mr. Speaker, will the Liberals join us and answer the call for a plan today?
The honourable member for Mississauga, Erin Mills. I'll give you that one. Thank you.
My neighbors, my colleagues, our healthcare workers, for my country, I will not be bullied. These words written by Ms. Jean Yoon and countless Canadians over the past few days have become a rallying cry. Make no mistake, after 2 years, we're all tired of this pandemic. We're tired of not being with our loved ones, of seeing small businesses and communities struggle. We're tired of this illegal blockade that has terrorized Canadians and attacked our supply chains. We have sacrificed so much to be where we are today, and we will not back down. This is our obligation to one another, to do what is necessary to protect Canadians. It is time for the members of this House to start putting first their obligations to their citizens who elected us to serve, to put petty politics aside and to work together. Together, let's show an effective plan to see through to the end of this pandemic. Let's show what Canadians have proven, that we are united. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, as the comment just said, it is almost too bad that MP Candice Bergen is not going to be the leader, because she's doing an outstanding job, I think, keeping the balance. A lot of protesters are mad that she said what she said. But in the House of Commons, well, it just seems just great. And check out the polling. Showing some weird numbers. Anywho, here comes Candice Bergen.
Oral questions. Question orale. The honourable leader of the opposition.
That the Prime Minister is planning to invoke the Emergencies Act to deal with the current protests in Ottawa and in some parts of the country. We know the protests continue here in Ottawa. We know the Windsor border has been reopened. We know that last night there have been arrests in Coutts. Section 16 of the Emergency Act refers to threats to the security of Canada. Given this context, does the Prime Minister think that these protests constitute a threat to the security of Canada? And if not, does he think that with this news he could be escalating rather than de-escalating an already inflamed situation?
The Honourable Minister of Public Security.
Mr. Speaker, these illegal blockades are hurting Canadians. We've seen borders closed, our economy crippled. We've seen Canadians lose their jobs, Mr. Speaker, and that's why since the beginning, this federal government has provided law enforcement with all of the resources that they've needed. In Windsor, the RCMP and Windsor Police have reopened the Ambassador Bridge. In Alberta, the RCMP made 11 arrests and seized guns at the Coutts border crossing. And in Ottawa, the RCMP and OPP have established an integrated command center with the Ottawa Police Service. Mr. Speaker, our number one priority is to end the illegal blockades, uphold the law, and allow Canadians to get their lives back.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We've been asking the Prime Minister to stop dividing, stigmatizing, and name-calling people he disagrees with. Let them know that he listens and that he hears them, but he refuses to do that. Today we are voting on a Conservative motion, a reasonable motion that asks the government to present a plan for a reopening by the end of the month. This should be a time of optimism and joy for Canadians, not division and fear. Can Canadians count on the Prime Minister to do the right thing and today stand up with us, support our motion, and give Canadians the hope that they deserve so much?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it does not really matter whether certain members of the opposition have been merely irresponsible or recklessly complicit. But what this country is facing is a largely foreign-funded, targeted and coordinated attack on critical infrastructure and our democratic institutions. The illegal border crossings are clearly intended to harm Canada and hurt Canadians. And our government, Mr. Speaker, is prepared to do whatever is necessary to restore order and to protect Canadian interests.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's clear the Prime Minister and these Liberals are still big fans of polarization, division, and negativity. 2 years into this pandemic, Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve
in this moment some optimism and some hope for the future, and they deserve it, leadership from their government. They need to know when the federal mandates and restrictions will be lifted. That is not an unreasonable ask. So again, will the Liberals, will their Prime Minister, will their ministers, will the backbenchers stand up for their constituents, vote with us to present some optimism and some hope for Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, at every turn in this crisis, the Conservatives had an opportunity to de-escalate, to talk to those that were outside about dispersing and moving on. Instead, what we see is from the interim leader of the Conservatives who came out and said that they should continue this for political purposes.
That's right.
The member for Carleton, who is currently a leadership candidate, out saying that he's proud and stands with the illegal activity that's happening outside. The member for Yorkton Melville saying that ripping down barricades protecting the war memorial was an act of profound patriotism, passionate patriotism. They're failing leadership here. Mr. Speaker, put this.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians won't be fooled. They understand the political games of the Prime Minister. First, he voluntarily chose, well, according to his own members, people from his team are saying this, to politicize and to devise and stigmatize to win an election. Then he chose to politicize the pandemic, and that's what he's still doing today.
Stay tuned for the latest. We're going to do a mandate letters, all the Liberal mandate letters.